Welcome everybody, this is How to English, Teach and Learn with Gav and Em.
It's a podcast about teaching and learning English as a foreign language.
All opinions stated are personal and references will be given when necessary.
Hey Gav.
Hey Em.
How's it going?
It's going very well and I hope it's going very well for the followers too.
Me too, Gav.
What have you got lined up for us today, Em, on episode 3 of season 7, Gav and Em's How to English TEFL? Is it 3 again or is it 4?
I think it might be 4.
Episode 4 of Gav and Em's How to English TEFL Pod.
Episode 3 or 4? Let's cover our bases. I'm not sure which one. 3 or 4?
It's definitely 4.
Right. Episode 4. Well, Gav, I've got lots of things.
Should we explain what we're doing?
Yes. Yes, we should. We are discussing all things to do with TEFL.
We are in the form of a conversation that our followers may wish to follow. Who are our followers, Em?
Follow. I think our followers would be students, teachers, people who stumbled across us online and was just looking for a podcast.
People who were looking for a podcast. I mean, anyone really, but I would say it's directed at people learning or teaching in the TEFL world, which is teaching English as a foreign language. That is quite right. And we have written down a few things that we came across recently and have been considering, and we thought we might share them with you, followers.
So Gav, lately I've been thinking, what is the optimal number of lessons a week for you? And how do you break those lessons down? What's your optimal lesson time? What's your preference?
Time or number?
I mean both. The number of lessons per day and how long are those lessons?
Those are all very interesting things to consider. I personally have a rough figure in mind, which is around 25, 24-ish per week, which might divide into 4 90-minute lessons a day, maybe 5.
I don't know if that works out in the maths way, Gav. I'm not good at maths.
I'm talking Monday to Friday.
Yeah.
2 morning classes, 2 afternoon classes, but there may be some individual 45-minute lessons in there.
Some floaters, maybe?
For example.
What are floaters?
In teaching, do you mean?
Yes, in teaching.
They are, because I think there's a dessert called a floater, but there could be something else as well. They're students who book lessons at seemingly random times during the week.
And you might not see them from one week to the next, but they are on your kind of portfolio, let's say.
They float by and sometimes they disappear, but might re-emerge from the liquid that they are floating in.
It's also a dessert, you say? Okay, well, anyway. So for you, 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, with a lunch break.
Not 2 a.m, I mean 2
lessons in the morning, 2 lessons in the afternoon, or let's say AM, PM, with a break in the middle. That's pretty sweet, Gav, and I understand your reasons for that. I think it's nice to have a blocked morning, blocked afternoon, break in the middle.
That's it, that break is for my lunch, which I prefer not to have disturbed.
Right. And don't forget that when we talk about teaching hours, they're usually 45 minutes. So 2 teaching hours would be a 90-minute lesson, which is a bit confusing.
I am nodding.
I generally prefer 90-minute lessons also.
Em, can I interrupt?
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean a 60-minute lesson is 1.33 teaching hours?
That's right, Gav.
And a 90-minute is 2 teaching hours?
That's right, Gav.
What's a 30-minute lesson?
I said I can't do maths.
Is that 0.66?
Oh, that sounds right, yeah. So you got to get your head around this as a teacher. You know, when people talk about hours, you got to make sure, what are you talking about? Teaching hours or real hours?
Especially if you need to invoice somebody.
Exactly. But yes, I prefer 90-minute lessons. I think they're a nice length of time. You can get...
Can I interrupt again?
Again? I haven't even finished the first point. Yeah, go on.
You didn't ask me if I prefer 90-minute lessons or some other format.
Well, I thought you mentioned that, but did you not? Okay, do you prefer 90-minute lessons, Gav?
No.
Why not?
I like 60 minutes.
Why?
Because they are the perfect amount of time to pre-teach something, practice something,
and then have a little chat at the end.
I respectfully disagree with you, because I think 30 minutes small talk. What did you do last night?
30 minutes of small talk?
What did you do at the weekend? How's your day going? What is that plant behind you?
Are there 20
in the
students in that class?
There could be up to 5 or 6. It takes about 30 minutes to go through everyone's news and what they've been doing and the updates. So 30 minutes for me is great for small talk.
That sounds like a waste of time to me.
Well, those are fighting words, Gav. I think no small talk is a waste of time. I think these are crucial skills that our students need. And a lot of my students actually really enjoy it.
The students are not there to small talk, Em. They are there to learn something.
Well, some of them are there to learn how to small talk. A lot of them do have hard jobs, but they can talk about them, but they struggle with the small talk part.
I'm struggling with small talk right now. Do you mean they're learning how to give small talk, how to practice their small talk? Or are you teaching them how to small talk?
Well, it's all mixed together. I think that they get familiar with it, they start to feel comfortable with it, they get more confident with it, they can talk, they can ask each other questions. I mean, this is quite hard, I think, for a group of students to do small talk properly. I'm not talking about just interviewing style, like the teacher just asks students questions. I'm saying get everyone involved, get them asking each other questions. I think that's a very important part of a lesson.
It sounds quite important now you've described it to me.
Right. And then you've got your remaining 60 minutes to get into some grammar or vocabulary or a listening task or whatever you want to do. But for me, that first 30 minutes is really about easing into the English and becoming comfortable and having a good chat.
They need that warm-up at the beginning in order to then confront something new and exciting for them.
And just to get in the right mood. So for me, 90 minutes is perfect.
I think it's still too long.
Can get tiring.
I like 60 minutes. Bang, bang, bang. 60 minutes. Bang, 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 bang. I've done 60 minutes, 60 minutes, 60 minutes. That's good for me.
All right. Sounds stressful, the way you say it.
And then lunch. And then bang, bang, bang.
But what I will say is it's really, really important for me personally to have a break between lessons. I'm not one of these teachers that can go from one 90-minute lesson into another 90-minute lesson, or even a 60-minute lesson into another 60-minute lesson with no break in between. Can you do that?
I have been known to do back-to-back 90-minute lessons, and they are pretty killer. And I'm not sure I gave my best in those lessons, certainly the second one.
Do you give your best or do you do your best?
Gave my best me.
Okay. No, you don't do your best, but gave your best
Performance.
Right. Apart from just the length of time, what...
Although, saying that, I can do a couple of 60s together. That's not a problem with two different students.
So how is it different?
90 minutes is 90 minutes and 60 minutes is 60 minutes. So 2 times 90 is... Hold on.
Don't be facetious.
That's 3 hours, Em. That's 3 hours of teaching compared to 2 hours. I can definitely do 2 hours.
There's a big difference between 2 and 3 hours, in your opinion.
And especially if it's with a different student in the second hour, I get my second wind.
Second hour, second wind. Yeah, I think it's just that
Reset.
Reset, that's the right word. You've got to just process everything. I think after a lesson, I need time to reflect on it, think about it, and then get rid of it out of my head and think about the next one. I'm still in that fuzzy kind of headspace after a lesson, and if I've got to go directly into another one, my brain isn't braining.
Do you think we should talk about what you do in that gap between lessons, that time immediately after finishing a lesson? Because, Em, I have been wondering, what do you do immediately after you've finished a lesson?
It really depends on how many lessons I've had, what day of the week it is.
Let's say it's Thursday afternoon around 2 o'clock.
Well, that's a hard time because I've been going quite a long time up to then. So, honestly, I probably just close my eyes for about a minute and relax them because I've been looking at a screen all day and they hurt and they're a bit tired. And then I need to get out of the chair because I've been sitting down a lot. But in my head, I'm thinking, how was that? Did I enjoy that? Was that good? Did that work? Did the students understand it?
what came up, what questions were answered. Were there any questions I didn't answer? Did I miss something? I remember that person said something at that moment and I totally forgot to come back to it later. That other person left, and did they leave because they had a meeting, or I can't remember exactly what happened with that, and are they going to come back next week, or did they say they weren't coming back? Did I write that down? Check my notes. There's just scribble everywhere. Notes about things in the lesson, listening task answers, names of people.
You write the answers yourself?
Sometimes if I'm doing a listening task and I think, oh yeah, I don't have the answers for this, I need to know what the answers are, so I do it with the students. So I've got answers all over the paper, not in a very organised way. Notes about next week somebody's on holiday, they can't come to this lesson, next month somebody else is on holiday. It's a bit like that, and then I say to myself, oh yeah, and I need to go to the loo.
And make a cup of tea.
And make a cup of tea. Probably loo first, then tea. But that's pretty much my thought process. Is it anything like that for you, Gav?
Well, if I'm back-to-backing, then no, I don't have time for any of those things.
This is my point. Sorry, this is my point exactly. That is a normal 30-minute to an hour break, maybe if you're lucky. 30 minutes probably standard. That's what happens for the first 10 minutes, and then I slowly come out of that phase and I go into thinking about the next lesson and what have I got to do, and all the planning for that, and what do I remember about the students. Sorry, coming back to it. So if you have got 30 minutes between, what do you do?
I take a bathroom break, I make a cup of tea or coffee, and then I return to my workstation and see what's next on my timetable.
Yeah, and if you've got an Outlook calendar, it notifies you 15 minutes before your next lesson, so you don't really have a lot of time to think about anything. Anything else, Gav?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that I don't usually need to make a lot of notes after the lesson because I try to make them during the lesson on the student's dedicated notepad page.
Is this a virtual thing or an actual piece of paper?
It's a virtual thing on my computer. I make some notes during the lesson while the student's talking to me so that I don't have to do it later. Because, to be honest, Em, I won't remember later as much as I think I will. I won't.
I like your system. This is good because I need to then rewrite all my scrappy notes because I can't read what they actually say, and I need to remember what it is as soon as the lesson's finished and write them neatly. But that's just because I'm analogue and you're digital, and we've talked about this. You are embracing the tech and I am not. I am a dinosaur. I like the paper thing. Coming back to it, this thing about processing, defragging, if you are going from one lesson to the other, you don't have that time to do that. So what happens, Gav? What happens if you do go from one 90-minute to another 90-minute? Where does all that thought process go? Does it come out later when you're trying to sleep? Or do you just not reflect on those lessons?
Sometimes I think I don't, Em, which is probably not very good. It's simply lost in the ether.
Well, I think I do the first thing. I think I go back to it hours later. I have to revisit all of that stuff, and maybe it's not as fresh, and maybe I don't remember everything, but I find it necessary for me to be able to let it go, that I have to think it through.
I think I might return to some of the lessons because what I also do is leave worksheets open. I've got, as I mentioned, a little notepad for each class, and I might glance at that before closing my computer after 2, 3, 4 lessons, and then think to myself, oh, that's actually very important what I wrote there. I must make sure I make this worksheet for next week because they really want to talk about the price of coffee across the world.
That's a good point too, because usually, as we're both teaching online, I have all these tabs open, I have all these pages open, and for my own well-being I have to close everything. So then a week later when I go back to that folder, I've got all these documents that I don't remember and think, oh yeah, we were in the middle of that and I just saved it and didn't send it, or, well, I do usually send it, but I have to go back and retrieve it all.
And what do you mean I usually send it and I have to retrieve it all? Because this is reminding me that I might immediately after the lesson, if I have got a few minutes, to send homework to students.
That's my point. All the documents we've used in the lesson have to be sent to the students.
Do they?
Well, yeah, because they're
they're the lesson. And I think it's only right that the students have a record of it.
Are they entitled to that?
I think so.
Have they paid for that?
I don't know. Somebody has somewhere. I think if I've written a lot of vocabulary words in a document, then I need to send that to the students so they've got a record of it, they can use it, they can look again another time, and maybe some homework also. So yes, if I don't have time between lessons to do that, I have to do it after everything else, and then it's a huge job. It's a lot of time to do that for every class.
In that case, if you can send the homework immediately after the lesson when it's fresh in your mind and fresh in the student's mind, that's probably a good tip.
Yeah, because I think a lot of students want to just continue. They might have some time, they might be on their lunch break, and then they want to do the homework you've sent.
I'm not sure my students want to do that, but
Mine do.
let's be optimistic.
Yeah. And you might have to write registers, you might have to write some notes about what you did in the lesson so that your company can see. All this is admin. It all takes time.
Start filling in your invoices.
Maybe. If you go from one lesson to the other, you haven't got time to do any of this. So I find it incredibly stressful. I do like to have a bit of time between.
I can see why you would organise your calendar that way, to give yourself a little bit of time to get organised between classes.
What would you like to talk about, Gav?
I've already talked about it. It was what you do between your lessons.
Oh.
I'm going to come in again with another thing that I have been thinking about recently, which is, do you see an advantage in getting students to explain the context of example sentences? So, for example, you're teaching used to, or some modal verbs like I must do this, or maybe you're talking about have to, don't have to, and you ask the student to explain the context of the example sentence back to you, the teacher, or to the class. Do you see any advantage in that?
Are you talking about an example sentence that's in a textbook or that you've presented to the student?
It could be either, actually, Em. Probably it's clearer if you just give the students an example sentence and say, where might you come across this sentence? But also, maybe you're reading a story and you take a sentence from there. It could be, the woman arrived late to the cinema and discovered the film had already started.
This is an isolated sentence in a random book or just somewhere that you found it, and you say to the students, what do you think of this sentence? Or what does it mean?
How would you use it? Where would you come across this sentence? Can you explain it back to me? Do you see the benefit in this?
Well, of course. I think everything should be grounded in some sort of real context, yeah, because life is usually based on something, not just a random sentence out of nowhere, unless maybe you get a phantom email that just says one thing.
I get texts like that.
With no context at all.
It just says, Dad, here's my new number.
Yeah, well, I think that has its own merits. I think you could actually have quite a fun conversation about that too, because it has no context. But generally, yeah,
everything has context. There is some context to be found if you dig deeply enough.
Kind of, but I think that is a good example where there is no context. I was on my sofa and this text just arrived out of nowhere, and I don't even have a kid.
But what does it mean, Dad? I've got a new number, followed by a number.
Yeah, but there's no context there, is there?
The context is, this is somebody pretending to be your child contacting you and asking you to call them.
Yeah, but that you have to create yourself. The context isn't there, really.
It's implied.
Because we're telling a story, but it's not. When you get that message, there's no context at all. So anyway, we do create context when there is no context, is what you're saying. But generally, yeah, I think it's not very worthwhile just to give students random sentences or phrases without any context.
That's true. I think another good way to look at it is, for example, I've been teaching used to, and the sentence, I used to live in Spain, came up, and I said to the students, oh, what does this mean? And they were not completely sure. And what does it mean?
I lived in Spain in the past, but I don't live in Spain now.
That's exactly what it tells us. But maybe students think, oh, I know how to use used to because I put USED space TO in the gap and it's complete and the teacher is happy and I get a little tick. But actually, I don't know the meaning of this.
You're just talking about it from a very dry grammar lesson perspective where you present the language
really with no practice.
It could be a gap fill, for example.
Yeah, it's just a grammar point in a book that tells you the form, as you've just described, and maybe a random explanation, but there's no connection to the students' lives. It's just an abstract concept. But then what you need to do as a teacher is say, so, let's practice this and tell me about something in your past that you did or you don't do.
Or, as I mentioned, you could analyse the sentence that's there, and you could ask the students to give a name to the character. So this is Colin. He lived in Spain. Where in Spain did he live? He lived in Seville. Nice. What do you know about Seville? Oh, it's a beautiful city, nice cathedral, lots of pretty places to go and eat tapas.
So you're fleshing out a story. You're letting the students build this up themselves. I like that too.
Making it real, making it memorable. And then you ask the students, why did Colin leave Seville? Money worries? Got in a fight with his boss?
Yeah, okay, I like it. It's almost like creative writing then, isn't it? But it's context-based.
And it's encouraging your more creative students and possibly challenging the less creative students who would quite happily write the answers in a gap fill based on the grammar you've taught them, but it may mean nothing to them.
I like it, but I do think I can imagine doing it with some of my classes and them just thinking, who is this guy? We don't care. This isn't real. I don't know why this is important.
Make it important, Em.
Yeah, but I would say make it important by making it about them, because everyone loves to talk about themselves.
That comes later.
All right.
Even the grammar practice can be fun, engaging, meaningful. You can have a good laugh thinking about the characters involved in these sentences and what happened to them. Why did Colin leave Seville?
Absolutely. I do try and put some humour in there. If there's very standard sentences in books, I do try, and, if they say in the book, politely ask questions using wouldn't it as a negative question, and the question is, wouldn't it be better to ask Heidi? And you get the students to create that sentence, and then you say, yeah, Heidi knows everything, doesn't she? You know Heidi.
I know Heidi.
Yeah, everyone knows Heidi. She's great.
It's always best to ask Heidi first.
And if the students are going with you, that's nice, but some of them might just be so focused on the exercise, they're just thinking, who's Heidi? Don't stress me out. You got to decide what's right for your class.
That is possible, but I like the idea that by the end of the activity, students come back and remember Heidi and ask themselves, wouldn't it be better to ask Heidi? What a great phrase to have in your head forever.
Yeah. And they might smile when they think of the lesson.
It's nice to smile.
I'm smiling now.
Em, what have you been thinking about recently?
Gav, I've been thinking, when you have a class of students and they've all had a chance to talk and they've all told you about their weekends or what they're planning to do that evening.
Is this the 30 minutes at the beginning of your lesson? Every lesson by the sounds of it.
Could be. And then you decide, just on a whim, because, hey, things can go a bit wild sometimes.
Is this because of Heidi?
Maybe. You decide to tell them something about yourself.
Oh, don't do that.
Well, go with me here. So you decide to tell them you've got a plan this weekend to build a new fence because a storm broke your old one.
That is a beautiful story.
What will happen usually, in my experience, is you get nothing back.
Complete silence.
Now, you may find that disconcerting if you're a new teacher, but you and I, Gav, we've been doing this a long time.
I still find it quite disconcerting that I can tell somebody a story and they don't ask me anything about that story.
But I've been thinking there's usually a good reason for it.
There's no good reason. I do not accept any reasons. Give them to me, please.
Right.
Convince me.
I'll give you some reasons. They may not have the language to
nonsense.
respond.
Nonsense. If they can understand what I said, then they should be able to respond. Next.
But things like, oh, really? Oh, no. That's interesting. Oh, dear. Those things are not natural.
Have you ever had a student that used any of that language before?
I can't think of any, but...
Without pre-teaching?
That's what I'm saying. You're actually arguing my own point, that you have to teach them this stuff.
You have to teach somebody to show interest?
Of course you do. Absolutely. So you can't hate them for not knowing how to say, oh, no, that's terrible.
I'm not hating on them. I just expect a reaction, which I seldom get.
All right. Well, there may be that. there may also be that fear of power. I don't know if that's the right word, but as a teacher, we have a role and students may not feel very confident talking to us as human beings. We are just either there to teach them or we are there just to listen to them.
Again, I have to disagree with you, Em. I try to be very personable with my students and show them that I am a very normal human being. And if they can't talk to me and show interest in the stories I tell them, then I'm slightly disappointed.
Well, yeah, but maybe they don't think it's their place to say anything. Maybe they're a bit scared of you. Maybe they just think you're this...
Demigod?
Well, I wasn't going to say that, but just that you're this other thing that's not a friend. They may just not find it very interesting.
That's fair.
Yeah, exactly. They may just be struggling to understand you.
Maybe they're the same with their own friends and family and work colleagues, that they just look blankly at them as they tell stories and then have nothing to ask.
I don't know. You'd have to ask them that.
Sounds like a very boring world if that's the case.
I don't know. I just think that there's always a reason, and you may be wrong about what you think the reason is. You might just think, oh, they hate me or they're not interested in my life.
Maybe it's unusual for people from other cultures to show interest while we tell stories.
Also that, maybe a sign of respect in their culture is to sit quietly and listen.
I might have a bias that I wasn't aware of.
Maybe they find it really annoying that people say, yeah, really? Oh, okay, what happened then? Maybe that's just for them distracting.
Well, they need to get used to it, because that's what I do.
Or maybe they don't. I don't know. What I'm saying is there's a reason for it. So it's often not the reason you think. You might just feel like you're talking into a vacuum. But firstly, you might be surprised that they actually are really paying attention and they remember everything and they are interested. And what's my second point? I don't know exactly, but don't stop is my point. I think you have to give in order to get back. And I realised as well with my lower level students, they don't always just want to talk. I sometimes think as a teacher I just need to get them talking, and that is, 90 minutes of that student just talking and producing language, but that's exhausting for a pre-intermediate student or lower. So I think actually it's really good sometimes for them just to try and listen to you. And they may struggle to keep up because it is quite hard to have a fast conversation, but they need just a bit of time. So also just wait a bit longer. Give them a chance to say something, because you tell them a story and they're thinking of all the things and how to say it and the language to say it with and the questions they want to ask you. It might take a few minutes for them to form a question.
Or maybe they're just thinking of their own stories while I'm telling mine.
Maybe, but they're also trying to formulate that in their heads to share with you what they want you to hear.
And how do you know that they are listening to you and they have taken in the information from your story?
Because maybe 2 weeks later they ask you about it.
Oh.
Because it's taken them that long to get the confidence or work out what it is that they want to ask.
Or they just think you're really slow at building fences.
Maybe, but I've had that happen where students have asked me much later, or they've remembered and they've said something, but patience I think is a really good thing, just to have some patience with them, let them think about it. Because often what happens is you don't get anything back and then you move on to the next thing, and then the students may think, oh, well, that's finished and I can't say anything about that anymore.
Come back to it 2 weeks later and then maybe they'll want to ask you about it.
Yeah. It's an English lesson, Gav. You've got to keep some themes going. I think maybe just keep it light and return to topics. What's wrong with that?
If life was like that, things would go very, very slowly, Em.
I don't know. I think it's quite a good theme and consistency, and like a soap opera, Soap operas go for years.
They drag on.
People love them.
Yeah, not everybody. I'd like to introduce my final topic of something I've been thinking about recently, Em, which is hand gestures when communicating grammar and vocabulary in the classroom. Do you have any tips for us? Because as I'm watching you from my side of the computer screen, being the student, and I'm looking at my teacher through the monitor, I want you to express to me various grammatical forms, but reinforce them in a way that I can remember. So how are you going to do that for me?
Are you going to give me examples, or have I just got to pluck them out of the air? Oh, pluck them out of the air. So maybe I would do that motion.
You're plucking in the air.
Something, yes. To explain the word pluck.
Oh, I like that.
Like I've got a chicken in this hand and I'm plucking its feathers with the other, and you can just imagine what that looks like.
I can see it. You're filling the entire screen with your plucking motion.
Is that what you had in mind?
That is exactly what I had in mind.
Right. I'm not sure I've got anything else in the tank, but what else do you want me to explain? Like past simple, we do the flap your hand over your shoulder.
Do you? You've got an open hand while you do that. Is the past simple an open-handed motion?
I guess it is. It's a flapping hand over my left shoulder.
So what am I saying while you're flapping your hand? What mistake have I made as the student?
You're saying, I go there last weekend.
Ooh.
And I'm saying, you go there, flap hand over left shoulder, you go there.
Does it get to a point where you're just flapping and you're no longer saying the words?
Yes, sometimes. I think I just put my hand up and go to put it behind my head and they realise.
The students can see you're no longer plucking, but in fact flapping.
Yes.
Shoulder flapping.
Yes.
Tenses could be something you can express with your hands. Anything else?
I don't know, Gav. I'd like to hear some of your hand gestures, if you don't
Do you want
mind.
to hear them?
I'd like to hear about some of your hand gestures, if you don't mind.
I guess we develop hand gestures in a response to mistakes students make frequently. The first one that comes to mind is the student might say, "My friend is very big," and I say, "Do you mean big?" and my hands go out from the centre. Or, "Do you mean student?" and then I put my hand, typically my right hand, flat above my head and then raise it slowly and say, "Do you mean tall? You have a tall friend?"
Nice.
I also have the tenses, motions, gestures.
The hand flap.
It's not such a flap,
What is it?
and it has developed quite a bit over these years. I now do a pointing motion in front of my body to symbolise present simple.
Finger pointing down.
That's
Like
it.
you're on a timeline in space.
So again, if the student says, "I go there last week," and I point down in front of me to show this is a present simple sentence, but you've used last week.
Mm.
And then I might switch to doing a thumb,
Oh, more like a hitchhike.
a hitchhike
Nice.
over my right shoulder.
It's a variation on the hand flap, but I see it's more concise, perhaps.
It's still got a pointing thumb, so I think this gives
Ah.
more direction to the student. And then later in the lesson, I joke about the fact that I might be getting a big bicep on one side and I should use the other arm.
Oh, do they get the sarcasm there?
I think so. They like it and they think it's funny that I want them to use tenses
You mean changing verbs? Who would want them to do that?
when they can just stick to present simple for everything.
Yeah. I do that, I think, with present perfect. I do a kind of chopping motion. Maybe chopping, maybe joining, linking. I try and do some sort of past to present hand. It's a bit like a claw. I don't know, I'm doing it now, but I can't describe it. It's like going from left to right to kind of connect the past to the present, but on the screen it would have to be on the other side so it looks right from their point of view.
You're reversing it.
You've got to make sure it makes sense, otherwise it would look like the future.
Yeah, I like this chopping motion because I do that when I'm describing the order of a sentence. So they usually go to the shops, not go usually, and then I might do the claw thing to show how usually go, usually being the adverb, is before the verb to go.
I can see your hands are doing that kind of magic trick with the cups thing, where they switch the cups around and you've got to follow the cups, but there's no cups, it's just air.
That's it.
That's nice. Definitely that. And that thing with your fingers, where you've got your thumb and your forefinger out in front of you,
Are they twisting in the air?
twisting in the air to kind of say, that word is similar,
It's
but
close.
it's not quite the right word. You need this other word. Or maybe, yeah, for syllables, you do that, but you don't twist, you just sort of chunk them along in a line.
Comfortable.
Yeah.
Comfortable.
I'm doing it with you. It's sort of chunking with your fingers like you're holding onto a teacup. It's good, actually. We do a lot, don't we, with our hands?
Tears and...
Tears? What do you mean?
Tear and tear.
Oh, yeah, similar.
Tears. So I will demonstrate a tear running down my face.
See.
And then I pretend I am tearing some paper in front of the camera, but the students simply cannot see that invisible piece of
Nice.
paper.
Very nice.
So hands can be useful, body parts can be useful. Em, you should see how much I shrug.
Why?
I'm doing it now.
Why?
I don't know. I just shrug quite a lot. I don't know. Why are you asking me? I'm just a teacher.
Oh, right. Okay. To show
Uncertainty.
uncertainty. There we go. Okay.
Ask that person next to you. Why are you asking me? I don't know what the population in your country is. Why are you asking me?
I do a head tilt sometimes. If they say informations and I've told them 100 times.
Oh, I wince.
Okay, the wince is good, but the head tilt's like, what? What was that?
Yeah, they would ignore me if I just tilted.
Well, maybe with an eyebrow raise. Are you going to really say that? Are you sure? Are you sure?
One eyebrow. It's a bit iffy. Two eyebrows. Stop. Let's go back.
Yeah, or frowning would be really showing signs of alarm. Yeah, we do a lot, don't we? And with that, Gav, I'm going to finish with one more hand gesture, which is waving goodbye because it's the end of the episode.
It is. But not before we say, send us a coffee, please. But only if you want to encourage us. If you'd like to discourage us, then don't send... in fact, send us a coffee anyway. To ko-fi.com/how-to-English-pod.
Waving.
We are both waving. I will interact with you in the coming episode.
Okay. I'll look forward to that interaction. Bye for now.
Laters, Em.